Welcome to the Rugged Human Podcast, where we explore the many facets of growth, mindset, spirituality, business, and entrepreneurship, all while finding our own unique life balance. I'm your host, Jared Foos, an entrepreneur, people connector, and general applier of common sense.
Okay. Welcome to the Rugged Human Podcast. My name is Jared Foos. I'm your host. And today I'm going to talk about the interconnectedness of personal growth, spirituality, and believe it or not, quantum physics. As human beings, we all have the potential to reach our highest levels of personal growth and spirituality. We're all capable of experiencing a deep sense of happiness and fulfillment in life. But the path to get there, it sometimes seems overwhelming and unclear. And today I'm going to talk about how personal growth and spirituality, are connected, and how we can use these ideas to transform our lives. And literally, I mean transform our lives, because I've done it in a big way over the last few years once I've figured this thing called, balance out. So bear with me on this one. Quantum physics challenges the way we usually think about the world, suggesting that everything around us, including ourselves, is made up of energy, and that this energy is connected. Therefore, we are all connected in ourselves and to each other and everything else in the universe. Observing a tiny particle in quantum physics, it says it can change how that particle behaves simply by the observation. When we observe our thoughts and behaviors, like as in mindfulness behavior and in personal growth in spirituality, we become more aware of ourselves. So that's the connection I'm making here. This increased self-awareness, I think, can help us make positive changes in our lives and shape our world around us through our thoughts and our actions. And if you look at anybody, and I'll go through some examples of other people who are saying the same thing in different ways. I think ultimately this message is pretty consistent over time with people who have seen this connection and have talked about it in many, many different ways. This then suggests that we have a role in shaping the world around us through our thoughts and our actions, right? This means that our thoughts and our actions have the power to influence the reality we experience. I always talk about this when it comes to perception in this podcast. In my podcast, that's what's going to be on the blog. But in this podcast, I talk about studies showing when we go into a situation with a positive mindset, the outcome has a higher probability of being favorable. And that's statistics. Ultimately, that really brings us to the idea of consciousness, though, right? So when we talk about consciousness, I think it's important to understand that it goes way beyond just the physical body and the mind. Consciousness is the awareness of our being, our beingness, our existence, and our connection to the world around us. It's that awareness. See, that's our consciousness. We know we exist. Just be, right, folks? Deepak Chopra, he emphasizes that our consciousness is not just limited to our physical body either, but extends beyond it to connect with the infinite consciousness of the universe. This is ultimately the basis, I think, of his philosophy of spirituality and the belief that our physical health, as well as our just general well-being, is very closely intertwined with our spiritual health. Chopra by no means is the only person to talk about this either. As I like to call this, as we talk about our rugged journey across this highway we call life, which leads me to Mr. Matthew McConaughey. He talked about a lot of this in his book Greenlights, and in his new venture, and this is why I think it's funny, because the advertising campaign that they've got going on all the socials right now It's called The Art of Living, right? And it's so McConaughey. I mean, it's his, that's who the guy is, I think. I don't know the guy. Just as an aside, hey, McConaughey, if you're listening, you got an open invitation to come on the Rugged Human podcast with me. But back to what I was talking about is that Tony Robbins emphasizes the power of our mindset and in shaping our lives. Tony Robbins is part of the, McConaughey put together some pretty heavy hitters for his little Art of Living thing, or big Art of Living thing. We've got guys out there like Jay Shetty. He's the guy who was a monk and then, kind of got into helping other people and, into personal growth and spirituality. He emphasizes the importance of mindfulness and meditation in achieving inner peace and happiness. And then we've got Brené Brown in her massively popular work. She focuses on the power of vulnerability and authenticity, right? In our personal growth. And I'm so big on that, because if you're not authentic in yourself, and I'm not talking about necessarily how you come across to others in that perception, although when you are authentic with yourself, that instantly comes across. When people, they can hear that, they can feel that, they can see that just in your demeanor as a person. When you're honest with yourself and you are being vulnerable and have already discovered these flaws around yourself and you're okay with everything, then that becomes very obvious. But Brené Brown, she talks about that, and I think it's hugely important. Hugely important. And another less talked about guy, I just banged in the microphone, that I wanted to mention. And my dad gave me this guy's book. I don't know, it must have been a year ago, and I didn't read it yet. So, well, I've read it now, but I didn't read it for like a year. But this guy's name is John Lockley, and his book is called The Leopard Warrior, where he connects to the same topics I'm talking about here in a few different ways. His book chronicles his journey from I would have to say upper middle class, white South African upbringing to becoming a fully initiated, and forgive me, I'm probably going to get this wrong as far as the pronunciation, but I think it's Xhosa Sangoma, or an African shaman. And the book, I'm not going to go too much into it on that, but the book is very detailed about how he gets to that point, because it's not just every day some white kid can come in and become a shaman, in the African tradition and in the old ways, so to speak. But what he emphasizes in this book is an interconnectedness that really ties into what I'm talking about with the interconnectedness that quantum physics talks about, interconnectedness of energy and all things in the universe. Lockley, he stresses the importance of recognizing our connection to our ancestors and the natural world. And this flows a lot along with obviously Native American, thinking and the truths of that. And you've got these archetypes, right? Movies like Avatar, they all kind of use this concept of the interconnectedness that is just out there. And that's a key component of my own thinking, of my own rugged human philosophy, if you will. As we recognize that our physical, mental, and spiritual well-being are all interconnected and interdependent on each other. So, for example, I don't think someone can truly be balanced and fulfilled and happy in their life if they are, ripped, six-pack abs, perfect physical shape, fantastic health. They're a multimillionaire. They have billions of dollars. They're flying around in private jets. But if that person, well, in fact, I know these people. I know some of these people that I just described. They're not happy because they're not fulfilled, because they haven't tied that spiritual side in. So until anybody in life can tie that spirituality to their material success, to their physical success in life, mind, body, spirit, and it's not, I say this all the time. We truly are these three different things. So I've seen it in real life. I've seen people who are just not fulfilled and happy, who could have everything in the world. And just, I mean, think about it. Think about it. How many people, and it's sad to say, but how many rock stars, how many movie stars who have, from the outside perspective, have it all. They've got the money, the fame, the success, and boom, they off themselves, right? That's not cool, and it's sad as heck. It's very sad, and I don't like that. In fact, I might even delete this whole part of this talk, because I don't really like to think about that, because it is so ultimately sad. But ultimately, in conclusion with this whole thing, and that interconnectedness, it's a big mouthful. The interconnectedness of our spiritual, physical, and mental selves. By doing that, by bringing these three things together in a balanced way for each of us. Now, each of us is going to be different, right? You know, I know people who are, charging on full cylinders on 2 out of the 3. I know people who are charging on two out of 3 cylinders on 2 of the other 3. But either way, if those are not balanced for you particularly, then you're not gonna get there. You're not gonna get to that point where you're like, yeah, okay, I see how this is going. And it comes in increments. But ultimately, by understanding the power of our thoughts and our intentions and connecting to something greater than ourselves, we can tap into that deeper level of consciousness, and we can align our lives with a higher purpose. And we ultimately are going to get greater fulfillment and happiness in our lives when we can find that. And I think we're all striving for that. But, that's what I talk about. That's what Rugged Human is all about. That's why I'm doing this. That's why I'm talking to you right now, is because I've seen so many people out there who just don't understand that. They don't understand. That needs to be a part of their journey. And then there are people who are also going, oh, I get it. They are on their spiritual journey. And, one of the guys that approached me was actually like my first ever customer for when I started Rugged Human. I'm not talking about my previous corporate life, which was literally, I keep banging this mic, which was literally in corporate motivation and incentives. That's what I did for 20 years. So I've applied a lot of what I know in life and business into this kind of philosophy of Rugged Human, because there's a lot of good stuff to take with motivation and incentives when you're driving a large sales force or a group of people, or 80,000 employees or 100,000 employees, trying to create an initiative to move the whole group. There's a lot of interconnectedness with the personal side of things. But bottom line, if we can't connect our spirituality, and we're not going to be able to get the full package. And that's where I think I am going to leave this one. We're at, 13 minutes-ish by the time I try to figure out how to make a cool trailer for this episode. 14 minutes. Anyway, I laugh. Great to be with you guys. Don't know you, but I love you. And, keep tuning in. I'll keep putting stuff like this. I'm going to have some guests. And I've actually got a great guest coming. I'm not going to say yet just because it hasn't been completely lined up. I've got some good rock stars coming up. I've got some, I'll spill the beans. I've got a neuro ICU nurse practitioner who's been doing that work for over 20 years. Knows everything. I mean, I'm not going to say she knows everything, but she's got some great input, great input on our minds and some just amazing stories. So anyway, you guys have a great day, and pass it on. Please share. If you're watching the YouTube version of this, click the like button and pass it on to somebody who could use a little bit of inspiration today. Thanks.